Okay, so we're going to start by just bringing a bit of awareness into the feet. We're going to be spending a bit of time on the feet this evening. So I'd like you to just start by pointing the toes. Plantar flexing the feet, trying to plant the base of the foot onto the ground. And then slowly start to pull the toes up and back towards you. Really press the heel away. Good. Inhale, start to point the toes. And then exhale, draw them back towards you. 3 more times. You can close down the eyes if you like, inhaling to point. Exhaling to slowly pull the toes back. Good. 2 more times, inhaling to point. Exhale, pull the toes back. Last time, inhale to point. And exhale, slowly pull the toes back. Good. And then we're going to start to make sort of movements with the feet. So what I'd like you to do, you're going to bring your left leg in towards you. Hold on underneath the thigh. And just start to make circles with the foot, moving gently in one direction. And then slowly go the other way. Good. Gently release the leg down. And swap sides. Bringing the other leg up. Start to mobilize through the ankle. Excuse my cracking ankle if you can hear it. And then go the other way. Good. Plant the legs back down. Okay, so a lot of the standing postures that we tend to do in yoga actually involve quite a lot of open hip rotation. So we're going to do a few yin poses just to let you find your way into your body and find your way into your breath whilst opening up the pelvis region. So when we talk about an external hip rotation, we're talking about the pelvis opening in this direction. So the knees are opening outwards to create more space across the front of the hip. We will go into more anatomic detail on it in a bit. What I'd like you to start with is bringing your right leg in front and the left leg draws behind. Mark, is your knee going to tolerate that? Yeah, okay. Well, let me know how you get on. We're going to be here for about a minute. So in an ideal world, you would want to make sure the front foot is dorsiflex, so the toes pull back towards the shin, so we keep the knee safe by engaging the muscles at the front of the shin. By doing that, we start to create more tension in the muscular forces around the knee, and that takes some of the weight away from the ligaments. So we are going to bring ourselves forward. You can do this, option 1, hands towards the knee, and maybe come down onto a block or onto your forearms. Option 2, if you're feeling bendy, you can come straight forward. Forearms come directly in front, more sensation in the glutes. Option 3, if you're really bendy, is you come over here towards the foot. But find somewhere that you can stay for about a minute. Releasing the head, allowing it to hang, or perhaps choosing to rest it against your block. And I invite you to just start to become aware of your breath. Start to notice as you inhale the space between the shoulder blades, to see if you can draw air in there, trying to lift the shoulder blades up. And as you exhale, imagine the body feeling a little bit heavier as it softens down towards the mat. Inhaling again, breathing into the back, spreading the ribs wide, spreading and lifting the shoulder blades. Exhale, soften the body down over that leg. 3 more breath cycles. And then gently in your own time, there's no rush with this, slowly begin to draw the hands under the shoulders and peel the body up. So we're going to bring the back leg forward. You can use your hand to help you. And plant both feet down in front. Bring the hands gently behind the body, and we're just going to drop the knees from left to right, just loosening off any potential restriction that we're starting to create in the low back. And then when you're ready, we're going to go the other way. So bringing the leg in front, drawing your right leg behind this time. Mark, your knee is okay with that position? Okay. So again, taking the variation that fits you, but making sure those front toes are really actively pulling back towards the knee, and then choosing to fall towards the knee, directly in front or towards the foot. Softening yourself down. Allowing the body to really, truly rest. Trying to begin to count the breath in. And gently count the breath out. Becoming aware of the breath. Becoming aware of where it's moving within the body. And allowing yourself 3 more breath cycles. Slowly beginning to unfurl yourself, coming back up to a seated position. And again, bringing the back leg around. And slowly just windmilling the knees from side to side. Neutralizing the pelvis and the hips. Taking 2 more of these each side. Good. Okay, so we're going to find our way into a tabletop position on the mat. So you can choose to roll by crossing the legs and rolling over the ankles. You can choose to just roll the legs around. But finding your way there. Hands stacked underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And becoming mindful of the hands like we were last week, really focusing and concentrating on that alignment. So coming back to the basics, making sure that the crease line across the front of the wrist lines up parallel with the line at the top of your mat, which means your hands will be spread slightly differently to anyone else that you ever encounter on a yoga mat virtually or next to you in a studio. Making sure all 10 fingers are spread wide apart. And the fingers tips start to pull back towards the palm of the hand. So you create that space underneath the middle knuckle of each finger and underneath the palm. So you hopefully start to feel a bit of lift through the forearms, through the arms themselves. Good. And from here, we're going to move through a few rounds of cat-cows. As you inhale, begin to invite space. Begin to lift the gaze up, tilt the pelvis high. And pull the hands actively back towards you so you start to engage more through the upper back. Good. As you exhale, push through the hands. Round into the upper back, round into the low back, gaze back at the belly button. Inhaling, lifting the gaze, tilt the pelvis up. Females especially, we tend to lock out our elbows here. Try and turn the crease line in. So like we were doing last week, try to find that micro bend in the joint. Good, and then exhale, round back. Keeping the micro bend, good. One more time, inhale to lift, pull the hands back towards you. And exhale, push down, draw the body back, gaze goes back. Good, come to find a neutral position. And I'd like you to extend the right leg back behind you, toes tucked underneath. And we're just going to invite a little bit of space into the back of the body. So as you inhale, start to shift the weight forward into the wrists. And as you exhale, press the right heel as far back as you can, trying to keep the legs straight, so really find length in that leg. Inhale, shift the weight forward. You want your toes tucked underneath, Charlotte? Tuck the toes under, Charlotte. There we go. And then exhale, good. Press the heel all the way back. Good. 2 more times. Inhale, shift the weight forward. Exhale, press the heel back. Last time. Inhale to shift forward. Exhale, press the heel back. Good. And then gently drop that knee down. And swapping sides. So keeping activity through the hands. Send the other leg back behind you. Toes tucked. Inhale, gently shift the weight forward. Exhale, press the heel back and away. Inhale, shift the weight forward. Exhale, press back. 3 more times. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to push back. Inhale. Last time. And exhale. Good. Come back down onto an all fours position. So we're going to move ourselves back into a downward facing dog, remembering the principles that we covered last week and in other previous weeks as well. So we're going to start by thinking belly to thighs. So fingers are active, fingertips pulling in towards the palm of the hand. Toes tuck underneath. We're going to hover the knees and then think belly comes back towards thighs. Knees stay bent. Good. Micro bending the elbows, turning the creases of the elbows inwards, and then trying to wrap the shoulders outwards. So you've got 2 opposing directions of the arms. Good. Draw the rib cage in. Nice, Mark. And then perhaps start to straighten the legs a little bit, making sure the hips stay where they are. Good. Julie, can you wrap your shoulders out away from your ears? You know what I mean, you used to do it. That's it, good. Taking 2 deep breath cycles here. And then very slowly start to bend the knees and walk the feet forward towards the hands. Straighten the legs. As you inhale, draw the hands halfway up the shins. Press the hips back, draw the crown of the head forward. Good, and then exhale, bend the knees, belly comes all the way down to rest on the thighs, head hangs. Inhale, straighten the legs, hands halfway up the shins, press the hips back, crown of the head forward, long spine. Good, exhale, bend the knees, fold. One more time, inhale, lift halfway, invite length. Exhale, bend the knees, belly to thighs, fold. Good, and then as you inhale, slowly roll yourself up, vertebrae by vertebrae, allowing the arms to hang as you roll. Good, okay, so we're going to move through a few rounds of sun salutations, which we covered last week. I will guide them this week, I don't expect you to remember them. But they are worth remembering as something to do in the morning. I know a lot of you are now joining the morning meditation. If you don't feel like you want to do the class before, I would just recommend doing 3 sun salutations. They just warm up the body and prepare it to sit. That's all they were ever designed to, prepare us to sit and meditate. So they're a great way of just warming up the core and the back of the body, ready to prepare us to sit. So finding your way to the top of your mat, bringing the feet underneath the hips, drawing the rib cage in so that as we reach the arms up, we keep a straight line. We don't allow this to happen. And then as you exhale, so reaching the arms up as you inhale. Good. As you exhale, soften the knees, fold the body, come all the way down. Relax the head. Inhale, lift halfway, invite length into the body, crown of the head pulls forward. Exhale, plant both hands and step both feet to the back of the mat. Taking a high plank. Take a deep breath in, drop the knees down. Inhale again, shift the weight forward, and exhale, lower chaturanga, elbows against the side of the body. Coming onto the top of the feet, press them down so the kneecaps lift. Roll the shoulders back, pull the hands towards you, inhale to lift the chest. Good, exhale, lower down. Tuck the toes, inhale, find your way to a tabletop. And then exhale, keep pushing back, find downward dog, belly to thighs. Again, making sure fingertips pull in towards the palm of the hands to protect your wrists. Roll both shoulders out away from the ears. Draw the rib cage in underneath. Taking one more deep breath in. As you exhale, start to walk the feet forward towards the hands. Inhale, bring hands halfway up the shins, straighten the legs, invite length. Exhale, bend the knees, fold the body all the way down, relax the head. Inhale, bring the arms all the way up to standing. Rib cage stays tucked, so again, we don't take a back bend at the top. Exhale, release the hands down. We're going to do 2 more of those, moving together. So as you inhale, reach the arms up, rib cage stays tucked. Exhale, soften the knees, fold the body all the way forward. Inhale to lift halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, plant both hands. Gently step both feet to the back of the mat. Notice which foot you lead with and try and switch it up occasionally. Take a deep breath in your high plank. Exhale, drop the knees. Inhale, shift the weight forward. Exhale, elbows hug towards the back of the mat. Good. Top of the feet press down. Lift the kneecaps, roll the shoulders back. Use the hands, pull them towards you to lift the chest. Exhale, come down. Tuck the toes. Inhale, find a tabletop. Exhale, keep pushing back, downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breath cycles here. Perhaps starting to lengthen the back of the legs if you feel that you can leave the hips in situ. Take 1 more deep breath in. As you exhale, start to bend the knees and walk the feet as far forward as they'll go. Inhale, bring the hands back onto the shins, press the hips back, draw the crown of the head forward. Exhale, bend the knees, belly to thighs. Inhale, sweep, reach the arms, come all the way up to standing, rib cage stays tucked. Exhale, release the hands down by your side to Tadasana, mountain pose. Good. Inhale, sweep, reach the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, fold the body all the way down. Inhaling, lifting halfway, find length. Exhale, plant the hands. Walk both feet back. Switch the foot that you did last time. Take a deep breath in and high plank, and as you exhale, drop down onto the knees. Inhale, weight shifts forward. Exhale, lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Come onto the top of the feet, push down, kneecaps lift, roll shoulders back. Inhale to lift, low cobra. Exhale, come down. Tuck the toes, inhale to tabletop. Exhale, keep pushing back, downward facing dog. Good. 2 more deep breath cycles here again, making those micro adjustments of the fingers, the elbows, the shoulders, the rib cage. And then gently as you exhale, begin to bend the knees, walk the feet forward towards the hands. Inhale, lift halfway, invite length. Exhale, bend the knees, fold the body down. Inhale, lift, come all the way up to standing. And exhale, release the hands down by your side. Okay, so those are very basic sun salutations, Surya Namaskar A. We'll probably move on to Surya Namaskar B next week, and we'll start to build a little bit from there, and we'll turn it into more of a flow. But for today, we're going to go over some of the basic standing postures. So we're going to start with as simple as it gets, Tadasana. So Tadasana is your mountain pose in literal translation. It's the pose we use probably most commonly when we're stood on the mat. Traditionally cued, feet come together, or big toes come together rather, and the heels can be slightly apart. For a lot of people, this is comfortable. for a lot of people, this is uncomfortable because it puts us into an inward rotation of the pelvis joint, and depending on how the femur sits in the socket, this actually is quite a lot of internal rotation. I tend to cue it to bring the feet underneath the hips or anywhere that they feel comfortable. So in the same way that we present our hands and we're working on this drawing of the fingers towards the palm, not only to protect wrist strength and develop forearm stability, but it's also to work on energetics. Energetically, we call it hasta bandha, hasta, hand, bandha, band, or energy lock. They believe that energetically we have these lines running through the body called nadis, and they run out through the fingertips. And so when the energy is simply dumped onto the hands, the energy is free to leave your body and drain away through the ground. Same principle with the feet, pada bandha, pada, foot. So we're going to start to work a little bit on just becoming a bit more mindful of the arches in the feet. So I'd like you to find a position, to be honest, to begin with, to just find comfortable. Shake out the arms. And gently lower the gaze or close down the eyes. I'd like you to start, leaving the eyes closed, to shift your weight over towards your right side. Take a moment there to perhaps become aware of the outer edge of the right foot and the inner arch of the left. As you inhale, slowly draw yourself back to the center. And as you exhale, allow the body to drift the other way. Noticing the arches in situ on the other side, the outer left, inner right. Inhale back to the center. We're going to start to shift the weight forward and notice the pressure that suddenly builds across the ball of the foot. That's your third arch, the one we most often forget about, and then gently shift the weight back. Inhale again, start to shift the weight back into the heels, and notice if the toes instinctively lift or if the toes instinctively clamp. Neither is wrong, it's just interesting to observe. And then inhale, bring yourself back to center. Take a moment and just move slightly around to find a position that to you feels completely neutral. Good. Okay, and then keep all of the eyes closed. And I'd like you to pick up all 10 toes. Take a really deep breath in. As you exhale, I'd like you to relax the big toe down onto the mat. Just the big toe if you can. As you inhale, pick the big toe back up along with all the other toes. As you exhale, forcibly engage the little toe down towards the mat. Inhale, pick the toe back up. Notice the difference in the use of language. For one, we need to relax the muscle. For the other, we need to engage. So this time I would like you to relax your big toe and then try and engage the little toe down whilst leaving the other 3 toes up. One thing I do promise is looking at your feet doesn't tend to help, it just makes it more confusing. And then as you inhale, pick all 10 toes back up. As you exhale, spread the toes apart as wide as you can, hopefully feeling a bit of engagement through the front of the legs. Hold them up, hold them spread. And then slowly begin to plant the little toe, and then the toe next to that. Maybe plant the middle toe. And lastly, plant the big toe down, really pulling that big toe and all the other toes in and towards the main arches of the feet, hopefully feeling a bit of a lift in the same way that we do with the hands. The inner arches have started to lift on both sides of the feet. Okay, now we're going to keep that energy drawing up through the body. So now we're going to micro bend the knees and lift the kneecaps, really engage the quads. Draw the rib cage in, which you'll feel will naturally adjust the pelvis and slightly tuck it underneath. Lift the sternum, the chest plate up. Bring the hands down by your side. Bring them slightly away from the body and really engage the fingers. Imagine you were trying to pull that energy up from the ground. And then lift through the crown of the head. So this is Tadasana. This is your mountain pose. You're as strong as a mountain and almost impossible to knock over because you're drawing so much energy up from the ground. Take 2 more deep breaths here, really feeling everything wake up. That energy lifting up through the feet, through and from the floor, lifting yourself higher. And then you can soften out of this ever so slightly. So we're going to move into a posture I don't traditionally teach. You will, in fact, never, ever, ever hear this in any one of my classes, but it's one that I feel that we all need to be introduced to because other teachers will cue it. So we're going to meet warrior one. I'd like you to bring your right foot in front, and we're going to step the left foot to the back of the mat. So again, we're working with the feet. We're making sure that both sets of toes are clamping the ground, really trying to pull themselves in towards the arch. Warrior one, the hips want to be square. The reason I don't tend to teach it is because for a lot of people that puts a lot of torque, rotational force through that back knee, and if you're already working with unstable knees, it can make them worse. Again, traditionally it's cued heel to heel alignment. This for me is physically impossible without rotating that knee. So I step the foot wide to keep my knees safe and my hips in line. Neither is wrong. Just get that out of the way. There is no wrong way of doing anything. Make it fit your body, not the other way around. Bend into the front knee so the knee stacks hopefully over the ankle. It's not too much of a bend on this one. Again, making sure once we've bent that the hips then square back around. Rib cage draws in so we get rid of the element of back bend here, and then the arms reach up. So in a warrior one, traditionally hands would come together and the gaze would be up at the hands. For a lot of people, this is quite a challenging thing to do because you've got a joint here across the clavicle, the acromion process, that can actually pinch on a nerve. So if you passively, bring the hands together, fine, no problem. If we're engaging the upper back to keep the shoulders safe, it's almost impossible to bring the hands together. That's about where mine come to if I'm actually using force rather than just passive. You take what fits your body. If you want to passively draw them together, by all means. Try and bring the hands slightly back towards the ears so you start to open through the shoulders. Again, notice the rib cage, try and tighten it in. Perhaps sink a little bit deeper into the front knee and hopefully start to feel some sensation through the front of the hip. So a lot of these postures, these standing postures, are inclined to stretch out the psoas at the front of the leg. So an alternative variation for this is to simply pivot onto the back of that back foot. So you come onto the ball of the back foot and find yourself into a high lunge instead. So difference being that here, my back heel is grounded, you can see me grounded. That's a warrior one. Warrior high lunge is just the heel lift, and we take a slightly longer stance. I tend to cue this because I think it's safer for the back knee. I'm not trying to rotate the knee and then twist the hips forcibly forward. I'm just naturally in line. You take what fits your body. It's a variation of. So in a high lunge, there's lots of alternatives. You can soften the back knee slightly if you're feeling too much sensation through the front leg. You can try and straighten the back leg. By doing so, you'll feel more intensity through the front of the quad and up into the psoas. To shift, you can dump the arms down if the shoulders are burning. To shift the focus into the psoas and away, other way around, into the quads and away from the psoas, you would be cued to tuck the pelvis underneath. When you really think about trying to scoop under, you'll feel the stretch shift from here into the main bulk of the muscle of the leg. That's the only difference. Okay, come out of it. We're going to do that one on the other side. So stepping the left foot back, starting with a warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Hips square to the front, feet as far apart as they need to be to do that. Energetically, toes clamp and draw in and up, and the arms reach overhead and either stay here or come together. Good. Noticing the rib cage, sinking a little bit deeper into that front knee. And then choosing to stay here, perhaps choosing to try the alternative and just pivot onto the ball of the back leg. So you find a high lunge on the other side. Good. And then step the back foot forward. Shake out the legs. So the psoas is one of the longest hip flexors in the body. It runs from underneath the rib cage, so roughly back here, the front of the hip. It tracks from the back of the body forward. The psoas for most of us is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter because of the way that we live our lives. We spend a lot of time in chairs in this position, whether we're driving or sat on the couch or actually sat at a desk. When we sleep, we're starting to sleep on our backs or on our sides with our knees drawn in. So this muscle needs to be strengthened as much as it needs to be lengthened to develop some actual length and therefore flexibility in the muscle. So a lot of these shapes, this is the purpose of it. It's to lengthen out the psoas muscle and create a little bit more length along the front of the body, so we try and stop this from happening. Having a tight psoas actually causes the pelvis to do this. So when you see someone who has an excessive lordotic curve, it's because this muscle here is short and it's pulling the front of the pelvis forward. And that's why people can get a lot of lower back pain, simply because the lower back is starting to compress on itself. Yeah. So standing postures, when we're certainly working in a closed position, i.e. the hips are pointing forward, that's what we're trying to lengthen the psoas. Okay, moving on, we're going to shift into warrior two. So again, you can go from a Virabhadrasana 1 to Virabhadrasana 2, but your feet tend to be too short. Another reason that I tend to go for high lunge, which is a longer stance initially, to warrior 1 is because for me that flows better. I feel like I'm talking a lot. In Hatha, they would traditionally go from a warrior 1 back to Tadasana, then step back out to a warrior 2. So there isn't the flow element, which is where it obviously originally came from, it was static postures. Okay, finding a warrior 2. I would suggest for the first bit, release the arms onto the waist just for a second. Okay, so same thing goes. In an ideal Ashtanga world, heels would be in line, or the heel would be into the middle of the back arch. That very much, for some people, is anatomically not possible, in which case you need to adjust the foot to wherever it feels neutral. So the back foot points straight, front toes point towards the front of your mat in the direction that you came from. And then what I'd like you to do is bring your hands onto your hips and open the hips to the long edge of your mat. Good. So that's where we want the hips, the belly, and the chest to stay. Now notice what's happened to your front knee. And as you start to bend the knee, you notice the knee really starts to collapse in. Yeah, so we come into a knee valgus position, which is equally unsafe because we put too much load through the ligaments. You need to engage your glute, and you need to use that glute to try and pull and rotate the knee outwards without adjusting the hips. Good. Okay. If you're not sure if you're using your feet properly, i.e. drawing the toes together, try and pick up the big toe. It'll soon tell you whether the arch is flat or lifted because you'll suddenly feel yourself roll onto the outer blade of the foot. Good. Put the big toe back down if you've lifted it and just try and create the same engagement by pulling the toes in towards you. So to keep pulling the energy up in this posture, we're going to squeeze the feet towards each other. So we hopefully feel that energy lift from the soles of the feet up through the arches and out up through the inner thighs into the groin. Sink a little bit deeper into the front knee. Draw the rib cage in. Open the arms up. So again, the chest is open to the long edge of your mat. Gaze suddenly turns over the front hand without moving the chest or the shoulders. Good, making sure the rib cage stays tucked in so we don't stick the glutes out behind us because the glutes are tucked under, working to pull that front knee out. Good. Inhale, slowly start to straighten the front leg. Okay, so from here we have numerous postures that we can move into. The most common one would be a Trikonasana, triangle pose. Triangle pose is simply because you create a triangle here. You create a triangle in here, there's 3 triangles, and we create another triangle here with the head and the arm, if you imagined a line across the ceiling. Okay, so the basics for all of these is the same. The only difference is we've now straightened the leg. We're making sure we don't lock it because at that point when we lean forward, we start to stretch the attachment points at the back of the knee, which is no good for anyone. So we micro bend. We lift up the quads to protect the knee joint. Feet keep pulling in towards each other, so you've still got that continuous lift of energy in and up. Reach the front hand forward, palms face forward. Draw the hand down. Use the back of the hand first and foremost to help roll the top hip open so the glute tucks underneath. The top arm comes up towards the ceiling. Good. Drawing the rib cage in, so we're making sure that the whole of the front body is working to protect the back. And then imagine pushing that back hand forward towards a wall so you suddenly feel the upper back muscles engaged too. Gaze drishti can be downwards, it can be forward, or it can be up. Good. And then slowly as you inhale, you pull the back hand up and let that lead you as you find your way back. Good. Okay, if you need to bring your legs together and give them a break while I yabber through the next one, by all means do. I don't expect you to stay in this kind of lengthened stance for so long. Okay, so typically you got your warrior two into your Trikonasana. There are two options from here that most teachers, myself included, then move into. One is a reverse warrior. Back hand would drop down, front palm turns up. You reach forward because we're now creating more space across the back. And then you reverse back. This hand should ideally be weightless. I tend to see this a lot, or this even worse on the back knee. Try and make this hand almost weightless. If you're not sure you can, bring it around onto your back so you literally can't use it. And then you'd sink into the front knee. This is a reverse warrior. Reverse Trikonasana is simply the front leg is straight, and you've still got the triangle between the legs. So, when you feel ready, finding your way into that long stance again. Drawing the toes in, feeling the arches lift and draw up. Squeeze the legs towards each other so you're engaging the glutes, pulling the thighs in and up. Reach the front hand forward, palm faces up. Back hand drops down or onto the back, reverse back. Let's take a reverse Trikonasana first, keeping that front leg straight. Good, and then move it into a reverse warrior, bend into the front knee. Good. Inhale, come up. Good. Okay, again, if you want to come out of the posture, by all means do. On the other side, I promise I won't add as many cues in. So, next pose from here. So we've gone this way, and we found length across the back of the body, and then we reversed it, and we created length across the front. The reason that we reach forward on both occasions with the back arm is to make sure that we don't just collapse into the hip and do this. We need to make sure we're finding as much space as we can across both sides of the body, and then the arms open up to match. My yoga teacher used to tell us that if you created a crease on your hip along that bottom side, you would literally make you come out of it until you could only, this was your Trikonasana, because you hadn't earned the right to go deeper because you couldn't keep the stability of the trunk. It's a bit too rash for me, but just try and think about pulling the crown of the head up and over as opposed to just dumping into the hip. I'm talking a lot. If I'm talking too much, just, I don't know, find a way of telling me. Okay, the next pose we would move into is an extended side angle. Option one, knee bends. Make sure it's tracking out towards the toes so we're not, again, collapsing into this knee valgus position. Forearm comes down and the palm faces up. So traditionally, this is cued with the arm coming up and overhead. Anatomically, again, you've got that clavicle joint here. So a lot of people will soon start to experience pins and needles, perhaps in the top hand. They might feel this sensation later on and can't explain it, and it triggers back to the yoga practice. Instead, we're going to draw the arm forward. So we close the top shoulder down. Reach the hand as far forward as you can. Right, stay there with the hand. And then all I want you to do is roll your left shoulder up towards the ceiling. So you literally roll the body open, and you should feel the side of the body lengthen as you do. Sink deeper into the front knee and make sure the knee tracks out towards the little toe. Glute is still working. Good. And then inhale, pull the right hand or left hand, whichever way you've gone, back behind you, and pull yourself all the way back up to find your warrior two shape. Good. Okay. The other option for that you will start to progress into in a class if they say, you know, take the next variation and you're thinking, I have no idea what that is. The next variation for an extended side angle is the block in front of the foot. So you use the elbow to push the knee out. If you bring the block behind, the knee tends to collapse in because it wants to get away from it. Block in front, so you use the elbow to push the knee outwards and you come here and the arm reaches overhead. Same. Maybe one day you get rid of the block and you come all the way down, arm sweeps forward, roll the chest open. One day you might move into a bind. Those are the kind of progressions that you start to move through. So here we found our way back to a warrior two. We're going to cartwheel the hands down to frame the front foot. Turn onto the ball of the back foot. Step the front foot to the back of the mat into your high plank. Take a deep breath in, drop the knees down. You can choose to shift forward and lower chaturanga, up dog, down dog. You can choose to find your way into a tabletop and simply move through a cat-cow. Does the same thing for the spine as moving through the alternative postures. Good. In your own time, whenever you are ready, find your way to a downward facing dog. Take a really deep breath in as you exhale. Start to walk the feet forward towards the hands. Inhale, lift halfway, finally. Exhale, bend the knees, fold, belly all the way down to thighs, head relaxes. Inhale, roll yourself, peel the arms up, ribcage tight, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands down by your side, find Tadasana mountain pose, toes engaged. Ribcage in, pelvis tucks, fingers pull down, and then simultaneously try and pull up, lift the energy up. Good. Good, okay. So we're going to swap sides. So this time we're going to step your left foot. I think for most of you, right foot maybe. Step the other foot to the back of the mat, find your warrior two pose. So I'd like you to find it, and I'm going to try and see what's going on so I can offer some critique as we're doing this rather than me just yabbering. So sinking down into the front knee. Making sure the knee tracks out over the little toes. Ribcage comes in, open the body to the long edge of the mat, and then draw the arms up to shoulder height. Good. Sink down into the front knee a little bit deeper. Good. So Mark, you want to open the hips back to the long edge of the mat for me. If you closed off slightly, yeah, good. And then sink down into that front knee. Good. Julie, pull the right knee out over the toes a little bit more. There we go. Good, Lisa. Can you gaze over the front hand? Yes. And then draw the ribcage in slightly. Yes, perfect. Okay. So from here, we're going to inhale, straighten the front leg. Lock it out so you know what it feels like, and then micro bend to escape that. Palms come out. Reach forward with that hand. Back hand comes down. Back of the hand, use it to roll the chest open. Reach the top arm up towards the ceiling. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Glutes squeeze underneath. Obliques engage, and then push the top hand forward as if you're pushing into an imaginary wall. Good. Some great lines. Inhale, draw yourself all the way up. So we're going to drop straight into a reverse Trikonasana. So front leg stays slightly straight. Back hand drops down, front palm turns up. Reach forward with the front hand, find length. And then exhale, reverse back over the back leg. Making sure that back hand is weightless. And then notice what goes on with the feet. Notice if the feet are now pushing apart and see if you can pull them in towards each other. Feel the inner thighs go again. There we go, good. Inhale, come up. Oh, sorry, no, stay there. Bend into the front knee, find a reverse warrior. Inhale, straighten up. Exhale, we're going to sink back down, find your warrior two. Forearm comes down, front palm faces up. Back arm sweeps forward as far forward as you can, and then roll the shoulder open. Good, and again, notice the feet, see if you can pull them in towards each other, keeping that energy inwards. One more breath in. Exhale, gaze goes down, hands plant either side of the front foot. Turn onto the board of the back foot, step the front foot to the back of the mat. And again, you know what I'm going to say. Take a vinyasa, which is that sequence of movement, lowering down, upward dog, or take a cat-cow. Take what fits the body, just give yourself a moment to reset the spine. And finding your way back to a downward facing dog. Good. So grounding down all 10 fingers, pulling the fingertips in. Mark, that looks so much better. I can't even begin to tell you. Good, Julie. Nice, Charlotte. Can you bend the knees a little bit, Charlotte, and the hips a little bit higher? Yeah, there we go. That's the pelvic tip I was looking for. Thanks. Take one more deep breath in. As you exhale, bend the knees. Start to walk the feet forward towards the hands. Inhale, hands lift halfway up the shins. Press the hips back, draw the crown of the head forward. Exhale, bend the knees, belly comes down to thighs. Inhale, we're going to come all the way up to standing. Arms reach overhead, rib cage tap. And exhale, release the hands down. Shake them out if you need to. We're going to do maybe 2 more postures. Okay, so the next one that you'll see quite a lot is chair pose. You tend to come at it from this posture. So you will have walked forward, done your halfway lift, folded back down. And because the knees are already bent, it's a natural transition to then sweep the arms up, keep the knees bent, and find this chair pose. Aptly named because you're trying to sit on an imaginary chair. I'm not going to make you do it while I talk to you because someone did that to me and I hated them for a long time. Okay, chair pose. The way I tended to learn it, because my feet do naturally fall apart, was to bring a block between my knees so that I remembered to keep my feet pulling in and then imagine them pushing in towards a block. So again, we're firing up the glutes to help support us here. We're not just dumping down into a chair where everything is just vulnerable. So if you want to use a block between the knees to find that posture in a second, you can by all means. So we're going to sink the hips back first and foremost. Pull the toes in, feet pull in towards each other, knees push in against an imaginary or a very real block. I'm not going to tell you to tuck your pelvis under because it causes a flat back and causes us to lean forward. I want you instead to lift the ribs up and then draw the ribs in, and the pelvis will naturally tip itself. Good. The arms then reach up. They tend to come forward, and what we are aiming for is a long line. So from here, what I'd like you to do is wrap the little fingers underneath and pull the arms back towards the ears without moving the head forward to come and meet them. And you should feel this fire through the upper back. And then see if you can sink down a little bit more, keeping the chest up. Feel like a lightning bolt. Mark, can you lift your chest up, 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 up? Yeah, good. So don't lean forward quite so much. That's it. Perfect. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, raise the hands. It's quite spicy. Yeah, you shake out the legs. It's quite a spicy pose. Again, probably not one I'd ever use in a beginner-specific class. But if it comes up in any of the vinyasa classes that you are in, just so you understand where they're coming from, it's a glute burner. But if we're just sat here, and it looks the same, but without my ribs in and my feet pulling in, I'm not engaging and actually working the muscle. It's just hanging out, which feels very different once you start to get used to certainly the anatomy of your body. Okay, we've covered quite a lot of the basics. Do you want to do another one, or would you like to do some seated stretches? Option 1, one more standing posture. Option 2, sit down and stretch. Option 1, 2. Come on, Lisa and Mark, make a decision. There's no judgment here. Mark's a 2. Right, that's it. We're going to the floor. Okay. So What we're going to do, we'll do one more sun out and we'll come actually down to the floor instead. So as you inhale, reach the arms out, feet pull in, find that lift through the legs. Exhale, soften the knees, fold, body come all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, pull out the hands, step both feet to the back of the mat, high plank. Inhale here, exhale, drop the knees. Inhale, shift the weight forward, exhale, elbows to the back of the mat. Come onto the top of the feet, press down, lift the kneecaps, pull the hands back and towards you, roll the shoulders back, lift. Exhale, lower. Tuck the toes, inhale. Find your way into a tabletop. Exhale, bend the knees, find downward facing dog. Good, wrapping the elbows slightly inwards and then bending them outwards. Good, roll the shoulders out away from the ears. Mark, you want to push a little bit harder with the right hand. Yeah, there we go, good. Now you feel wonky, but you're actually normal. Good, take a deep breath in. As you exhale, drop the knees down. Okay, so as I said last week, if you are ever asked to come from here, and they're like, raise the leg up, and then do loads of these crunches, because these are always fun, and then we're going to step the foot forward, and your foot's like here, and then you're going to drop your back knee, and you end up kind of in this shape, whereas everyone else is like here. It can put you out in terms of putting you out of sync, and it can also make you feel quite uncomfortable in a class. It's certainly where I began, and I was forever trying to move my foot to adjust, and then by the time I got here, they've moved on and were 4 poses down line. So if you're finding yourself in that position while we're building strength and getting used to kind of the cues to expect, find your way into a tabletop, walk the hands back, reach the arms up, rib cage in, and step the foot forward. So I'd like you to step your right foot or left foot, we're going to do both sides forward. Sink into the front knee, hands come down onto the thigh. Good. So again, you can keep your back toes tucked. It certainly helps with the balance whilst we're learning. You can release and come onto the top of the foot. Personal decision, up to you. You know what I'm going to say about the ribs? Make sure we're not taking a back bend here. The ribs are engaged, so we're protecting the mid back. And then I'd like you to imagine pulling the thighs towards each other. And hopefully, again, you'll start to feel that that inner and front knee pulls in, and the inner thigh starts to work. Good. You can choose to reach the arms up if the shoulders still have some life in them after the chair pose. You can keep them down. We're going to be here for 2 more breath cycles, up to you. As you exhale, release the hands down to frame the front foot. And I'd like you to walk, if you've done your right foot, you're going to walk it to the left side, left to the right. Walk the foot across. Pull the foot back towards the groin and then drop forward onto the knee. Good. You're going to tuck the back toe, lift the back knee up and shuffle the leg back behind you, and then drop the back knee and come onto the top of the foot again. Mark, I'm going to give you an option. Give me 2 seconds. But you know it, don't you? The figure 4. Yeah. Okay. So those of us that are in a half pigeon, this is what this is called. So you tend to find that the knee now tracks straight forward, which is fine. As long as you are feeling sensation in the glute, that's all we're after here. If you want to intensify it, you can come down onto that hip, bring the opposing foot forward, pull the toes back, same principle, protect the knee joint, and then rock yourself back on top. But you want to make sure the hips stay level. The minute we need to collapse onto the hip, we've lost the purpose of the pose. So find somewhere that you can stay, come down onto the forearms. Just allow the breath to settle. Mark, the alternative for this, instead of doing Janu Sirsasana A, which is what you're doing here, which focuses more into the low back, we want to make sure we're targeting into the glutes. So I'd like you instead to bring the foot over above the knee like we've done before. That's it, good. Pull the toes back towards you, hands go behind, and then try and bend that bottom leg
the bottom, that's it, and then lift the chest up. Good, so when we recreate a pose, we just want to make sure we're hitting the same muscle group. See, this is a figure 4 shape, and it recreates same. Those of you, wherever you are, take 2 more breath cycles. Good. And then gently, if you're here, just release the leg down, Mark, and take a bit of a cat-cow. So you just want to lift the chest up and round it back, and then you would swap sides. For those of you who are coming out of a pigeon pose, what we're going to do is we're going to tuck the back toe and lift up the back knee. Step the front foot to the back. Drop the knees, walk the hands back. Reach the arms up. Good. So if you hear me say in a downward dog, take a different variation if it serves you. This is what I mean. This is the different variation. Instead, you're going to step your left foot or the other foot forward. Sink down into the front knee. Hands can come down to the thigh. Good. Rib cage pulls in. Draw the thighs in towards each other again. Feel that lift in and up. Two more breath cycles. Hands go down. Walk the foot to the opposite side of the mat. Draw the foot towards you and then drop forward onto the knee. Tuck the back toe, jimmy the leg back behind you. Again, drop the knee, release the foot. Find a position that you can stay in. So if your knee is directly forward, the toes can be pointed in towards the groin. If you start to bring your shin anywhere further forward, the toes must be pulled back. Taking a deep breath here and then coming down, elbows underneath shoulders. The other thing you'll see and you'll hear quite a lot in yoga classes is to extend the arms all the way out in front of you, and people literally lie flat over the front leg. I'm guilty of it. I used to teach it, and I certainly used to do it. I've actually discovered since anatomically it puts way too much load through A, the front knee, B, the hip, and C, it destabilizes the SI joint at the back of the body, which is the last thing any of us need. So please, if you hear that cued, it feels great. Long term, it does you no good. So keep the elbows under the shoulders so we keep some of the weight off that front leg. One more deep breath cycle. Start to draw the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, step the front foot to the back of the mat. Good, and then drop down onto the knees. Walk the hands back and come to find your way into a lying position on the mat. So going to sit yourself down, roll yourself all the way back, knees in towards the chest. Good, plant the feet down, about mat width distance apart. Bring the hands away from the body. And then gently just drop the knees slightly to the left and slightly to the right. And that a few times. Come and find neutral position. If you feel like you want to take another forward fold, by all means bring the knees to the chest, nose to meet the knees. Otherwise, if you feel ready, you're welcome to extend the legs all the way down to the bottom of the mat. Finding your way into Shavasana, corpse pose. For many, the most challenging part of the entire asana practice, for others, the only reason they come to an asana yoga class. Bring the hands down by the side of the body and then bring them away slightly. Allow the feet and the ankles to completely relax. Take a moment to allow the back of the body, the back of the legs, and the glutes to gently soften. Noticing the spine, the length of the back of the neck, weight of the backs of the arms, the hands as they gently unfurl. And slowly bring yourself back in to the breath of the body. Noticing as you inhale, and the belly and the chest begin to lift as you fill with air. And notice as you exhale, as the body softens and empties. For your next inhale, I want you to really begin to think about filling the belly, filling the chest. And as you exhale, empty the chest, gently empty the belly. Inhale, breathe width into the rib cage. Imagine breathing wider across the base of the mat. And as you exhale, hug the ribs back in towards the spine. As you inhale again, breathe into the back of the body. Imagine spreading the shoulder blades, lifting yourself up and off the mat. And as you exhale, allow the whole body to come down heavy. Inhale, feel belly, feel chest, lift the body up. Exhale, soften the body all the way back down. Inhale, breathe into the width of the body, spread the ribs wide. And exhale, hug the ribs back towards the spine. Inhale, breathe into the back, lift yourself up and off the mat. And exhale, sigh yourself all the way down. Slowly start to bring some awareness into the fingers and into the toes. As you inhale, reach the arms up overhead and behind you, stretching yourself out from end to end. Take a moment to acknowledge Shavasana corpse pose for what it is, the opportunity at the end of every practice to start again and to let go. So perhaps choosing to let go of something, leaving it behind on your mat, perhaps choosing to take something with you. When you feel ready, curling the knees, bending the knees, and rolling onto your left or your right side, curling yourself up into a fetal position, an opportunity for rebirth. And gently, coming out of this is almost as important as the entire class. So please be mindful. Start to straighten the top leg. Start to push down with the top hand, and without rolling onto your back, gently push yourself up from a sideways position. Keeping the eyes closed if you can, crossing the legs, bringing the hands to the knees, the thighs, or the seat of the lap. Taking a deep breath in, fill the belly, fill the chest, lift the collarbones, open the mouth, sigh the air back out. Inhale, fill the belly, the chest, lift the collarbones, open the mouth, sigh the air back out. Inhale, fill belly, fill chest, lift collarbones. Exhale, sigh it all back out. And just come to be with the breath as it naturally moves through the body. Lifting the corners of the mouth and just noticing how it makes you feel. Gently extend the arms out in front of you, rub the hands together to generate some heat. Bring the fingers over the eyes. Blink the eyes open into the darkness behind the hands. And then gently spread the fingers to let light back in slowly. And release the hands down when you feel ready. Namaste.
Thanks all. You worked very hard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, really good. Thank you.
Like a lot, a lot. And if you have postures that you would like to cover, and it can be anything, you know, it can be something that I've taught in a class and you're thinking, why did we do that? Or I did that and it pinched here, or it hurt this, or I wasn't quite sure if I was doing it right. Tell me, you know, use the Facebook group, interact with me so that I can better structure these for you. Because I can go over basic anatomy postures all day, but if you want to know, like, why do I pull my thighs together? What's the point of it? Certainly more energetically, I know I don't tend to cover that a huge amount. It's not that I'm uncomfortable. I just, to begin with, I want to make sure that anatomically we're safe. And then we can start to move into more depth about kind of the energetic reasons behind the why. If it's something you're interested in, not interested in, you can just tell me to shut up and I'll pipe down. I meant to do it last week. Tonight I will upload a very simple Word document to the Facebook group. It just covers the very basic principles of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. It is basic. I've written it. There's far more interesting stuff on the internet, but if you want a rough kind of guideline about the depth behind what we're doing physically, it's a good place to start. And again, any questions on that, you can always ask me, Facebook, or use this time. You know, after a class, I'm always lurking around. I just play my mat for about 30 minutes. So don't feel like you're taking up my time if you have questions.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.